Okay, so I think we're done really going over each game. I think we understand you follow a sequence. You know, stratagems are very important. Um, we really wanted to look how the barbarians worked. We got to do that. Sorry I didn't show you the battle between Caesar and Vercingetorix in Alesia, but the video was long enough. So I'm going to show you a battle with versus Caesar and Pompey. So I just want to make sure the transitions in my Pax Romana scenario work well. So as we're dealing with barbarians out here, you know, they can still mobilize. Events can still have them activate. So we do have generals out here that still have some troops in them. But I made Caesar come back to Mityleneum to get ready to fight Pompey, because the rule is, remember, we're in the first triumvirate. But when Crassus died, and it was 55 BC, and he fought over in against the Parthians at the Battle of Carrhae, and because he was looking for his glory, he died. Now in our game, I didn't send Crassus over there. And so in our game, whenever a commander reaches the age of 60, I remove them from the board. You know, most of the commanders were killed and assassinated and whatever before them, but I can't recreate that, so we just remove them when they hit 60. So when Crassus gets removed from the game, that's when the civil war between Caesar and Pompey takes place. And there's a lot of other politics into it I'm not going to go into. Anyways, but for our game, just to add a little uncertainty, we remove Crassus right here at 53 BC. That's when he reaches the age of 60. Well, in 54 BC, April, we roll a dice. If you get a 1 or a 2, the war between Pompey and Caesar start. If you don't, then you wait to the year 53 BC, April, and you roll the die again. If you get a 1 or 2, the war starts. If you don't, then we wait to 52 BC, and the war will automatically start in 52 BC. Okay, so I moved Caesar to Mityleneum in 54, and I rolled the dice while I didn't get it. So this kind of works in with our game, because now Caesar's sitting there, and he's going to sit there a whole year and wait for this war to start. Remember, the Romans are not allowed to bring a leader cannot enter Italy or Sicily with any Roman combat units past this river line and this hex here. So Caesar has to wait there. So he waited. In the meantime, stuff is still happening up here that we have to take care of. And you can see the Romans do have all the Gaulish cities. I didn't bother going into Britain. You know, I don't really need to do that. But remember, as the Roman player, you're trying to collect or control. They don't have to be Roman cities, but you have to control 115 cities on the board, and we do count colonies. So if the Roman can take this colony and convert it to a Roman city, then it counts as them controlling a city. So right now, the Romans control together 71 cities. So you can see if they went into Britain, they'd have more. Remember, I think the lowest victory condition you can have when the game ends is 95 cities. So it won't take much more if they just get some of these cities here still. They lost a civis there, so I didn't count it, but they will get it. So stuff like that. There's still this city here. That is not Roman yet. So, and then the rest of it has to come from colonies. But that's where we're at with that. But Caesar's waiting here while the rest of his army's here. Now remember, red has less cities than purple. Therefore, he can only have 10 legions. So I divided it up. I gave Caesar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 legions, while his generals in France, there in Gaul, had 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's another legion, Praetorian Guard, that belongs to red in Rome. So those legions, they're 10 legions. That's all they have. That's how I divided it. For purple, I left the legate right here, number 4, and he has 1, 2, 3, 4. He has 4 legions here and auxiliaries. The rest of the legions are with Cicero in Gaul. He has another 3. So that's 7. That means there's 8 legions left, and Pompey has them. So Pompey does have the larger army. However, before the war came, remember, the purple was fighting over here, and the Parthian War, since the Romans have a lot of Parthian wars, this one, if a 63 event is rolled, it becomes, you use this, a civil war. And then what we do is we roll another dice. If you roll a 5, 4, or 6, the Parthians actually make peace. And then all the cities revert back to original owners, unless one, either the client converted a Roman one or Romans converted a Parthian one to their side. But if they didn't convert any, then they just control reverts back to the original owner, and then the war would end, and then it doesn't start again until you roll another event for it. And that's actually what happened, and that's why this Parthian War is over, and Syria has been taken by the Romans, and that's as far as we got. But we still left a legate down here to, I think the purple's interested in going into Judea next, but that's all a side game there. Just showing you that the Romans are still going to collect these cities, but they're still going to be fighting each other. So when 52 started, Crassus died in 53. I had Caesar there with the troops. Well, what I did was I moved Caesar quickly to Rome. So his forces went with them to Rome, because whoever controls Rome has more stratagems, and he gets better tables on the Res Republica roll. And Pompey was sitting there, remember, the whole time collecting good stratagems for purple. He had to run. So he ended up running down here, got on his ships, and he's up here. So here's Pompey. Here's his ships. Caesar's here with his ships. And this is the way we're sitting right now. And this is how it's going. So at this point, Pompey's going to give battle, and so is Caesar. We're just going to fight it, because at this point, I think purple thinks they're at their strongest. I mean, you can just run. This is up to you, what you guys want to do. You guys can avoid the battle, but there's rules to this civil war that I have written down on my Pax Romana scenario. So Pompey and Caesar, I'm going to go ahead and give battle with them right now, and I'm going to go ahead and use the battle board and show you this. Now, the battle board, it's a little different than just fighting on the board, just a little bit. But the battle board, you know, you have to have stronger units, and the more leaders you have involved in the battle, the more they can help your units pass discipline checks and get in a higher class. If you have a bunch of recruits, or as what happened to Vercingetorix, I had a lot of leve and barbarian units, and I was picking leve units because they're strength 10, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to get a lot of strength here. But no, they couldn't take command. They couldn't pass command checks. They couldn't pass the discipline checks, and they sucked. So it's more important on the battle board when you go into battle to try to have veteran units, or at least enough leaders to cover the recruit units to raise their class. So we're going to go into a battle here. The first thing we do is you see who has the tactical superiority. And one side has to set up before the other. Now in this, I'm not going to waste any stratagems. That's another thing. When we fight here face to face, tactical superiority is usually more important. But on the battle board, it really don't matter. Whoever wins tactical superiority, the other side has to set up first, which is not that big of a deal. So we're just going to roll. Caesar has a leader rating of 3, Pompey 2. So you add that to the dice. Let's see who wins it. Caesar's red, and Caesar is going to win it. So Pompey has to set up his army first. Now you have to set up on your side of the board in the last 3 rows. And depending on the terrain that your battle is fought in, it will tell you how to set up, what rows you have to set up and stuff. But the veterans most likely are going to be able to pass their command checks and their discipline checks. So I put them in the front, and then I just put the cavalry and the archers on the end. I think I'm going to move this. I think I'm going to have this like this. And the recruits I put in the back because they're most likely not going to be able to respawn. And then this is where the leaders come in. If I stack Pompey with a recruit, then this class is no longer recruit, he's an I, so that'll allow this guy to move better and respond better. And the same with this legati. That's what I mean, the more leaders you have, if I had another one, we can have one with him, and then the whole army can react properly. So that's their setup. Caesar, and again, I'm new at this, so I'm not saying this is perfect, but what I've seen in the battle board that I tested, I same thing. I put the veterans up here, and I just put the recruit cavalry and archers here, and I put the recruits with the leaders. He can upgrade his to a V, and Caesar can upgrade this to an I. So that's it. And here's the battle board. Here's all the results, and I'll show you real quick. But I wrote down here because they didn't have a sequence here. So first we have a command check. Now remember, Caesar's first. You roll one die for your entire army, and we see what happens. Here we go. And he rolled a 1. The command check is command check. This is pre-panic. And a 1, we have to look on the discipline table. And discipline table for a 1 is, we have no recruits because Caesar upgraded to a veteran, so we have G's going on. So what's a G in a command check? Berserk, move, attack. So the entire army, except for the recruits that can't move, recruits won't be allowed to, they may not move, have to move toward the nearest enemy and attack. So obviously we're not next to each other. You can only move one space at a time. Of course, it depends what type of unit you have, and you can move units different paces. For leaders, can move 3 hexes. Legions can move 1. Cavalry move 2. So the recruits aren't allowed to move, but these guys are forced to move. So we're just going to have to move our entire army up, whether you liked it or not. That's it. Pompey's turn. His check is a 5. And his check says everybody's going to pass unless you're a mob and Martarian. So they all pass. So now he can decide how he wants to move his stuff in any way. Auxiliaries, nobody can move diagonally, but auxiliaries can move diagonally if empty. These two right here. If one of them's empty, he can go like that. So right now it really don't matter. I think Pompey's gonna come on up because if Caesar fails a command check again, the guy's forced to attack. So we'll just move the line up. And you know what I actually like is we get defensive fire when they attack, and we can jack people up. So I'm going to move the archers into this area. I'll keep the veteran behind there. You can go there. Actually, I'll move the veteran one because I'd like to get this guy up. I want the whole army to move up. So let's do that. Okay. Now, on the battle board, you only go 10 rounds, and then the battle's done. Remember, like on the board, you fight 3 assaults. In this one, it's 10 rounds. So here's round 2. Caesar has to make a command check. And he rolls a 1 again. Therefore, recruits aren't moving. And veterans will move. And they have to go and attack. So everything's forced. You don't get to decide. Okay. There's defensive fire that's allowed to come from those auxiliary. I'll tell you right here, there's auxiliary, horse archers, and fleets. So the defensive fire is going to fire on him first, and he'll go after the Imperator. So he gets defensive fire now, and so we're going to pick this guy. This recruit is going to shoot at this Praetorian. So you see the first roll, his strength is a 4. He gets 4 rolls. The first one's a 4. Missed. The second roll is a 5. Missed. The third roll is a 5. Missed. The last roll is a 3. They all missed him. Lucky him. This guy has 2 shots. We're going to go ahead. Now, defensive fire can be diagonally, too. And I definitely want to pick on this guy. So let's take 2 shots on him. And 1, he got a disruption. So, you see that 1, defensive fire, disrupted. And a 3 is a miss. So, he lucked out and stayed alive. Now it's the Caesar's shot. Caesar cannot attack diagonally. He has to attack frontally. Unless, of course, you're the archer. Let's go ahead and start this side. I'm going to take 4 rolls. Here's the first one. And he rolls a 6. And that is missiles are depleted. He's done. He can't shoot anymore. This guy will go ahead and attack him at 5 dice. Oh, and you pick your tactics before you attack. That's why they pick defensive fire. These guys are going to pick offensive fire. And then what I found out mostly is for the legions, the wedge is the best because it gives you the most chances. So at the wedge, we rolled a 2 for our first roll. It's a B and an A. If the defending unit is disrupted, it's eliminated. If the defending unit is not, it becomes disrupted. So we are disrupted with him now. Now, these units that have 2 sides, you can put markers on them, but I turn them sideways. They're disrupted. And then an A is the attacker is disrupted. So let's go with this one. 5 shots. And we're going to use the wedge again, and we have an L. The defender is heavy armed. It's not affected. So we miss on that. B and an A. We have another disrupted and another disrupted. Let's go this 5 on that. We're going to use the quincux on this guy and stay away from that A if we can. So 5 misses. Third roll. 4 misses. Fourth roll, we do get a 1. And it's a B. So this unit is now disrupted. And last roll. And 3 is an L. Nothing. So they're disrupted. Next attack. It's going to be this guy, and we got to attack that one. 5 rolls. 4. And this one, since you're going against light armor, I'm going to change it now to a wedge attack. So a 4 is a light. And you're eliminated. So that's the end of the Roman attack. After combat, you can advance after combat, and then you try to rally. So, do I want to advance? Now, when you advance, these guys can all attack you separately, so I'm not going to advance into that. That'd be crazy. I'm going to let him try to come around and flank me. So let's try to rally. Now, rallying is done with the discipline check, but each unit will be done individually. So let's roll for this guy first. It's a 3, and it is a veteran unit, and he passes. So on passing, just to make sure you're undisrupted. So he comes back. The next unit gets a 4, and it's good. Next one is an I. And we roll a 1. That becomes a G. G says undisrupt. So that one's good. So it looks like the I's, man, Imperator forces are really going to do good. So see, that's another thing we're learning on the battle. The better the quality of the unit, the way better you're going to do. Now, I should note that there's special tactics you can use on the battle board. There's flank attacks, which if you're getting get hit from more than one side, you get to double the amount of dice you roll. There's a skirmish movement, there's a testudo, and the relief of the line. Okay, now in the rally phase, both sides get to do the check. So now we're going to roll for the disrupted purple unit. So here's a veteran, and he rolls a 6. What's a 6? Pretty sure it's going to be a pass. Yeah, it is. So he's good. Next unit is a 1 on a veteran. That becomes a fail. And a fail remains disrupted. Next one is a 5, and a 5 should be a pass for a veteran. Yes. So they're all good. Only one remains disrupted. Now it is the purple's turn, and he will do a command check. And he rolls a 4 for the entire army. It looks like all veterans recruits are going to be a G, which is they have to attack and move to the nearest enemy unit. So this guy has to attack him. The cavalry has to attack him. That's the nearest unit. And the other recruits back there, they're good to go. So everybody's good to go. This guy can't move, obviously. So let's get this guy on a flank attack. Let's try to outflank this side. See, if he wants to come in, he has to come in that way. He's going to take defensive fire on him because he wants to make sure this way you don't get outflanked either. So he's going to block. I think I want to overpower this side more. It looks like is what I'm getting at, especially if these cavalry start to move. So let's attack first. Let's go with these two on this guy. Okay, so it's after the first guy attacks. So we're going to go with the 5 first, and then if this guy attacks, he's actually going to get 8. And if he chooses not to, or the guy died, then it's no longer a flank attack. So let's go with the first one. And a 3. Okay, let's go with the first one. He got a 3, and he's choosing the wedge, and he got an L, and that would be a light unit. So that doesn't work. You know what? I think I'm going to use the quincux for this guy too. So 5 is a miss. That's 2. This is the third roll. 1 is a disruption, right? The break. Yep. Last roll, 6 is the attacker is disrupted. So let's go ahead and do the flank attack. Sorry. And now you're going to get 8 dice on him. And with the cavalry, I want to do a charge. There's 3 A's in that. Let's not do the charge. He's already disrupted. Let's stick with the heavy cavalry. Oh, heavy cavalry can only go do a charge. Note 3. Yep. Yep, let's do it. First roll, 5. Cavalry charge. We have a C. The result applies only if the attack can use an elephant. Otherwise, there's no effect. Second, 4. L. No effect. Third, 6. Attacker disrupted. Wow. Those attacks didn't come out good. Let's take 4 on this guy. 3. The auxiliary can only do... Let's do offensive fire. That way I don't get hurt. I can only run out. So he missed with the 3. Next, I need a 1 or a 2. Got it. See, he's disrupted. This is the third roll. Missed. Fourth roll. Got him. We just killed a Roman. Nice. Now we can advance into that. Question is, do I want to? I don't think so. Let's stay in the line right there. The other one that's attacking will be this guy. Here's 5. he'll do the Quinnox, and we do have a disruption. Here's the second roll, and we do have another disruption. And we eliminate another Imperator force. Nice. I think I am going to move in right there. We're going to start breaking this line on this side if we can. This guy. Now, the losses are just like it is in a land battle. It's 25% of your army disrupted or eliminated and twice as much as the other. So right now, it's an eve of battle, so it's still going on. So let's get to the rally right here. Okay, back to Caesar's turn. Command check. 3. And what are recruits? G's, the recruits have to move and closest to the closest enemy unit. So recruits are able to move this time and closest enemy unit. Now cavalry go 2. So that's what they have to do. So we're going to outflank this guy. Oh, I don't know if I rolled for that recruit. I don't think I did. Didn't see him. 4 does the recruit pass. G, yes he does. Okay. The rest of the units. Yep, we're going to go for this guy. Hate to do it, but this is what the guy was trying to do. Sucker Caesar in. You don't want to lose Caesar in the battle. And it's going to be an offensive fire. You know what? I better not. Let's just keep it like this. Let's keep Caesar back. I'll tell you what. I'm just going to move him, and we're going to put Caesar with this guy. Okay, let's attack this one first. Alright, so that's great. If you're going to use this battle board, it looks like putting I-class legions in here is really the way to go. So Pompey is not doing too well here. And I think we'll just wrap up that battle. You see the battle board. There's a lot of little tactics with it. And I think I've gone 4 rounds. So it goes 10 rounds. I think that's good enough. You see the tactics. So Pompey just lost 3 stratagems. And since he was kicked out of Rome, he didn't get all the stratagems back that he wanted. And now he has to take 3 off. Well, we'll take 1 agent. We'll go ahead and take an agent because, remember, the guy has to roll dice and you have to get a 6 if you want to try to assassinate him. And Caesar gets to pick 3, so he gets everything back that he used. So he's at full strength. And this is where the battle took place, because as Caesar went to Rome, he came here, and now I'm going to continue on. But here's what's cool about this game too, is you see they're trying to recruit another army, but since Pompey had lost this battle, you got a choice. You can try to maybe hook up with a guy here that you're going to recruit some troops and try to keep recruiting in here, but Brutus is doing the same thing here. He has already converted this Neapolis to a Roman Red City, and they're recruiting. But at this time, when you lose a major battle, we also have a rule that if your supreme leader loses 2 major battles, 2 major ones, then of course in the Civil War the Romans go, hey, you suck, and you leave. It has to be your supreme leader. So, does Pompey want to risk another major battle right now? I don't think so. So what's cool is Pompey, in his turn, he can just take off. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And he'll keep moving. He'll come back to where his power base is over here or right in here. And he'll recruit his losses real quick and hook up with whatever soldiers he can. Like this Legate will go with him. This one may try to keep this. Now this one has the Pompeian forces, so he's going to move a lot slower. So, but it looks like Caesar's going to be able to start taking over cities in Rome. Pompey's going to collect forces, and then they're going to go for another battle somewhere. So that works out good. And that's the way that civil war works. So it looks like it transitions real well there, and that's all I wanted to see. And I'll come back after I run through a few turns and until we go to our next transition. I just wanted to show you something. As Pompey was running, the Legate has the rest of the army, but really the supply is going to slow him down, and you don't want Caesar to catch that army. So I left it right here, basically with a recruit. You know, who cares if you lose the recruit? These guys are just going to recruit these guys back and build them back up. We're going to block the road. We left the supply behind, and the Roman recruits here are going to be holding out in this city to block Caesar's movement from coming down. So that's the way that'll work. The only other thing is if Caesar can get tribute from these Roman units, I know there's a limit, but any units that are collected by tribute, they just change sides. So Caesar can now go over his 10 legion limit and get the soldiers on his side, and Pompey will drop down, and you just have to keep a little record that Red, instead of having a maximum of 10 legions, he has 12 legions on the board. 2 of them are tribute legions. So, and the rule is, let's say he has 12 legions. Well, he's only allowed 10, but he's allowed those extra 2 because he got them by tribute. So now you can't recruit legions because you're over the mark. And then once your losses drop below 10, then you can start recruiting again. So, very simple rule there to keep. But we're going to do that. It allows the Legate, he was allowed to move all the way to here, and we can get away from Caesar trying to march his army, especially if we're blocking movement here. Because remember, once he enters an enemy hex, he has to stop. So, and that's what's cool about Agent Warfare. It isn't, you know, fast moving. You take your time in buildups, and you're going to build your forces again. They know another battle is going to take place. Pompey is going to go rebuild. Caesar's going to convert these cities. He's going to rebuild. They're going to come back with their maximum army and go for it. So here's what we've done. We've been moving around Brutus, Cicero, Q Cicero, converting these cities, which are pretty easy. It just takes a political. And we have this under siege. We did tribute one of those recruit legions, but Caesar's on 10 because we lose them on the siege. We tried to assault it, and we had to lose one guy. Pompey's made it over to Thessalonica. This is where he's going to hold out, and he built a camp just in case any shenanigans with fleets. Cicero was going to come over here and do the next battle, but I decided against it, especially because the forces that were here could just follow him, and you're really not helping the cause. So Cicero went back to Massilia. We bought 2 more, recruited 2 more fleet factors, and we're going to sell this over to Pompey. So we're going to put the entire Purple Army over here. In the meantime, the generals here have been converting some of these cities that Purple owned to the red side. So basically you're vacating your areas and you're going to protect this side. So I could see how the Roman world divided all the time up between a east, west, or a north and a south section, because basically you have a side that supports you, and that's the side you're going to. You can't possibly hold the entire world, especially when one of the Romans, like Caesar, takes Rome. On the Res Publica table, he's been rolling and getting stuff, and eventually he's going to be imperator, senator. He's going to get all those acclamations on him, and dictator probably too. So it's cool how this represents that Roman world. I can see that happening like that. And like you said, purple's going over here. They did ended up recruiting, changing one more city to their side. But it's going slow over here, basically because we've been concentrating on what's happening over here and the buildup over here. So I'll get back to you, but that's how it's moving. Just want to say is, now every time you convert a different colored city, a tan, a green, to the Roman side, that's 2 victory points for you, and purple's been doing that a lot, so they've been getting victory points. However, when the Roman comes and takes it, since purple already got 2 points for that, just because red come and has taken it, red will not collect 2 victory points for that city. And I explained that in my Pax Romana, but just explaining here in the rules, it's already gotten 2 points for being a Roman. All it's doing is changing Roman side, so the victory points for it are gone. You have to change different colored cities as a Roman player to get 2 points for victory points. Now, clients or barbarians, if they come and capture any Roman city and get a civis built on it, they get 2 victory points. Right now, the purple has 37 cities and the red have 35. So it's almost going to change here where purple can only have 10 legions, 10 auxiliary here. So it looks like one of the tactics you can be using if you're playing the Romans is before you give up cities, go for that other battle where you're going to have more legions. Unfortunately, I wasn't thinking of that yet, but that may be a strategy you want to use. Now, purple has to go down to 10 here pretty soon as the Romans take 2 more cities. So, as soon as the red take 2 more cities. But that would be a tactic in the Civil War. But as Caesar, I didn't care if I had 10 legions. I mean, you don't need to have more legions to win this battle. What you need to have is high-class legions. Whether you're on the battle board or even here, it helps with the discipline checks. And this is, you know, if you follow history, Caesar had to chase Pompey over here in Pharsalus, have a battle. Pompey went to Egypt, was killed there. Caesar had to move to Thaspus, I think it was, right here. And he had to fight a battle here against purple units that were still here, defeat them. He had to go to Spain at Munda, right here. He had to fight a battle of purple loyal units here. Then he had to go here into Africa and fight at Thapsus and fight the African loyals here. So he traveled all over the world and did this before he went back to Rome as supreme leader. So I'm really liking this. I like how this game was made, and it does follow. It even forces us to follow some history, but also I am throwing in the events as the years go by. Otherwise, you know, they wouldn't be happening. So we are in the Civil War, and just to make it clear, the rules for this Civil War is if your supreme leader dies, and it doesn't necessarily have to be Pompey or Caesar, but the highest rating leader has to be your supreme leader. I say that throughout our rules that I write here. If that's tied, then it's the highest class rating leader. If that's tied, then you can pick. But so in this case, it is Caesar and Pompey. There was already one major battle. Purple lost. If the supreme leaders fight again and purple loses, if Pompey loses again, then the Civil War ends and Caesar wins. Now, so just to explain the rules here so we don't get gamey, when Caesar has won a battle against Pompey, well, if Caesar decides to avoid the battle and Pompey chases him and Caesar ends up running from him, then Pompey scores a point. So Caesar has a point for winning a major battle, but Pompey gets a point now because Caesar ran. Let's say Pompey continues to chase him and Caesar continues to back up. That's another point for Pompey. I do that so that Caesar just can't start running all over the board because Pompey dies next. We know that, it's on the calendar, and you remove Pompey. So this is when the Civil War ends. So basically, I'm forcing these two to come to battle. I mean, that's just the way it is. They can't run forever. Your men would mutiny against you if you kept running from battle. So, in history. So that's realistic. You can't do that. You have to face each other eventually. The armies have worked out, and now this civil war, Caesar had won the first battle we showed you on the battle board. They fight again here at Thessalonica. This time I used these battle chits, and I, first time using them, and I went for it. Both sides lost a large amount of forces, but it ended up being a draw. And so Caesar, since Pompey had more forces, Caesar withdrew to Salonia and started recruiting. Pompey's recruiting, but Pompey had more forces, so he went right at Caesar again. Caesar stayed inside the city, and you can recruit while you're being besieged. And so that's what Caesar was doing. Pompey sent a general back to Thessalonica and recruited his forces until they were almost maxed out with their limit again. And then Caesar came out and attacked Pompey, and they fought again. This time with the chits, I was a little more conservative. I'll show you the special tactics chits in the next video. But this one I was a little more conservative. I didn't have a lot of losses on both sides, and the battle ended in a minor victory for Caesar. So they immediately fought again, since they didn't lose that many forces, and then it ended up for another minor battle for Caesar. So Pompey, they lost a little more forces. Pompey was pretty much done after that. And remember, he didn't lose 2 consecutive major battles. Otherwise, the civil war would be over, and you would remove the purple supreme leader, which would be Pompey. Or if it was red, you remove Caesar. At any rate, what we did is you go down until Pompey's removed. There was only a year to go. There was no more battles. Pompey gets removed. At this point, we do 2 things. 1, you add up who won the Civil War with points. Caesar did. 2, you start to roll for 2 events now. As soon as the Civil War ends. During the Civil War, you were rolling for 1 event. Now you're rolling for 2 events. And then the third thing, a special event, is 2 more years can go by, no matter what side run the Civil War, and red and purple can still fight. That's just a special rule, because that's what happened. Even though Pompey was eliminated in Egypt, he was killed, the war still went on. So you got 2 more years, then the war ends with the side who was victorious already has been determined between Pompey and Caesar. In our case, it was Caesar. So he can go on fighting for 2 more years and do whatever he wants, capture whatever purple he wants, and then war stops between the Roman forces. And that means 2 more years. It's 45, 44, 43. So from 43 to 40 BC, basically there's no Roman civil war. But then Caesar is removed. When Caesar's removed, we know he was assassinated. This starts the 4th Civil War, which is Caesar's faction against Pompey's factions. It's Caesar with Octavian and Antony going against Pompey's Brutus, Cassius, and Gaius Sextus Pompey. So that's what we'll be looking at in next video, the 4th Civil War.